Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this journey through time. Today we will explore a story that is small enough to fit in your pocket, yet vast enough to span thousands of years. It is the story of Indian coins. Our journey begins a very, very long time ago, around the 6th century BCE. Before coins, people traded goods for other goods. This was called the barter system. But imagine trying to trade a sack of rice for a cow. How much rice is fair? It was complicated, you know. To solve this problem, a new idea was born. The idea of money, in the form of coins, came into being. It was a revolution that changed trade and society forever. The very first coins of India were not perfectly round like the ones we see today. In fact, they were quite unique. They are known as punch-marked coins. Merchants and kings would take small flat pieces of silver and cut them into various shapes. Sometimes they were rectangular, sometimes square, and sometimes just irregular blobs of metal. What made them special were the symbols stamped onto their surface. These were not made with a single die that pressed a complete design. Instead, several different punches, each with its own symbol, were hammered onto the metal one by one. This is why we call them punch-marked. What were these symbols, you ask? A fascinating question. They were a language of their own, representing different things. You might see the sun, a six-armed symbol, a bull, an elephant, or even a simple geometric pattern like a circle with dots. These symbols were like a guarantee. They told you that the coin was made of real silver and had a certain weight. The symbols of powerful kingdoms, known as Mahajanapadas, like Magadha, Gandhara, and Kosala, acted as a mark of authority. It was a sign that the king or the state approved this coin for trade. This simple piece of metal now carried trust. These early coins, often called karshapanas, were primarily made of silver. The weight was carefully controlled to ensure fairness in every transaction. Imagine a trader in an ancient market, holding a small silver piece. He wouldn't see the face of a king or a date. Instead, he would recognize the familiar symbols punched into the metal. He would know its value instantly. This innovation made trade smoother, faster, and more widespread. It allowed kingdoms to collect taxes more easily and build great cities. This was the very first chapter in India's long and magnificent story of coinage, a story that began with a simple punch on a piece of silver. As small kingdoms grew into vast empires, their coins also evolved. Our story now moves to the great Mauryan Empire, founded by the visionary Chandragupta Maurya. The Mauryans understood the power of a unified currency. They continued the tradition of punch-marked coins, but brought a new level of control and standardization. The state took over the minting of coins, making it a centralized process. This meant that a Mauryan coin from one part of the empire would be recognized and accepted in another, hundreds of miles away. The symbols also became more consistent, often featuring the sun and the six-armed symbol, which are strongly associated with the Mauryan dynasty. Then, a new influence arrived from the northwest. After the campaigns of Alexander the Great, the Indo-Greeks established kingdoms in what is now modern-day Afghanistan and Pakistan. They brought with them the Greek tradition of making coins, and this was a game-changer for Indian coin history. For the first time, Indian coins began to feature realistic pictures of the rulers. The king's face was now on the coin, a powerful statement of identity and authority. Even more remarkable was that these coins were often bilingual and biscriptural. They had Greek text on one side and Prakrit, written in Kharosthi or Brahmi script, on the other. This was a brilliant way to communicate with their diverse subjects. Following the Indo-Greeks, another powerful empire rose, the Kushans. The Kushan Empire was a crossroads of cultures, connecting India with Central Asia, Persia, and even Rome. This was reflected beautifully in their coins, especially their gold coins. The Kushans were among the first Indian dynasties to issue gold coins in large quantities. These magnificent coins were used in international trade along the Silk Road. The Kushan king Kanishka, for example, issued coins that showed him standing and making an offering at a fire altar. It was a powerful image of a mighty ruler. The reverse side of Kushan coins is a treasure trove of religious diversity. They didn't just feature one god, they featured many. You could find coins with images of Greek gods like Helios, Persian gods like Mithra, and even early depictions of Hindu gods like Shiva, also known as Oesha, and Buddhist figures like the Buddha or Bodha. This showed the Kushans' tolerance and their position at the center of a multicultural world. Their coins were not just money, they were a canvas that painted a picture of their vast and eclectic empire, blending art, religion, and power into a small golden disc. Our journey now takes us to a period often called the Golden Age of ancient India, the Gupta Empire. This was a time of great achievements in science, art, and literature, and the coins of this era are a testament to this incredible prosperity and creativity. The Guptas took the art of coinage to a whole new level. They primarily issued stunning gold coins known as dinaras, which are considered masterpieces of coin art. The craftsmanship was exquisite, moving away from the more static pictures of the Kushans to dynamic and symbolic scenes that told a story. The Gupta rulers used their coins to project an image of power, virtue, and divine right to rule. Samudragupta, one of the most powerful Gupta emperors, issued several different types of coins. One famous type shows him as a mighty warrior, holding a bow and arrow, with the title The Unconquered One Who Conquered His Enemies. Another amazing series of coins shows him playing the veena, a musical instrument, highlighting his cultural and artistic side. This was propaganda at its finest, presenting the king not just as a conqueror, but also as a man of culture and refinement. The coins were a reflection of the king's personality and achievements. Another celebrated ruler, Chandragupta II, also known as Vikramaditya, continued this tradition. His coins are famous for their artistic excellence. The lion slayer type, for instance, shows the king heroically wrestling and defeating a lion. This powerful imagery symbolized the king's strength and his ability to protect his kingdom from all dangers. On the reverse of many Gupta coins, you would find the image of the goddess Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth and prosperity, seated on a lotus. This was a powerful message, suggesting that the king's rule brought prosperity to the land with the blessings of the gods. The details on these coins are simply breathtaking. The inscriptions were written in beautiful Sanskrit, using the Brahmi script, and were often composed as poetic verses, or kavya. This was a significant shift from the Prakrit language used on earlier coins. The clothing, jewelry, and weapons of the figures were all depicted with incredible attention to detail. The Gupta coins were not just currency, they were miniature works of art. They tell us the story of a confident and prosperous empire that valued beauty, power, and culture in equal measure, truly earning their era the title of the Golden Age. After the decline of the great Gupta Empire, India entered a new phase. The political landscape became a complex mosaic of various regional kingdoms, each with its own unique culture, language, and identity. This diversity was wonderfully reflected in their coinage. It was a time when the unified style of the great empires gave way to a rich tapestry of local coin designs. From the north to the south, each kingdom minted coins that told its own distinct story, creating a fascinating chapter in India's coin history. The coins of this period are a window into the regional powers that shaped medieval India. In the north, kingdoms like the Gurjara Pratiharas and later the Hindu Shahis of Kabul and Gandhara issued coins that became very influential. The Hindu Shahis, for example, created a very popular design featuring a horseman on one side and a seated bull on the other. This bull and horseman type was so successful and well recognized that it was copied by many other rulers for centuries, including the early Turkic invaders. It became a standard design in North India, a testament to its enduring appeal and the stability it represented in trade and commerce across different ruling families. In the south, powerful empires like the Cholas, Cheras, and Pandyas also developed their own unique coinage systems. The Chola coins, for example, often featured a crest showing a tiger, the royal emblem of their dynasty, along with a bow for the Cheras and a fish for the Pandyas. This symbolized the Chola king's supremacy over the other two major southern powers. These coins were mostly made of gold, silver, and copper, and carried inscriptions in Tamil and Nagari scripts, proudly asserting their regional identity and administrative control over their vast maritime trading empire. Further south, the mighty Vijayanagara Empire, which stood as a bastion of Hindu culture, produced a wealth of fascinating coins. Their gold coins, known as varahas or pagodas, are particularly famous. They moved away from depicting the king and instead featured powerful Hindu deities. You can find coins with images of Lord Vishnu in his various forms, the divine couple Lakshmi Narayana, or the powerful Balakrishna, that is, the infant Krishna. These coins were a bold declaration of the empire's faith and its role as a protector of Dharma. The coins from this era show how currency could be a powerful expression of regional pride, religious belief, and political power. The arrival of Turkic invaders from Central Asia in the 12th century marked a major turning point in Indian history, and this change was dramatically reflected in the country's coinage. When the Delhi Sultanate was established, it introduced a completely new style of currency, heavily influenced by Islamic traditions. One of the most significant changes was the disappearance of portraits and figures. Islamic tradition, or aniconism, generally discourages the depiction of living beings. So, the images of kings, gods, and animals that were common on earlier Indian coins were replaced with intricate calligraphy. The coins of the Delhi Sultanate became a canvas for the written word. They were covered in beautiful Arabic and Persian script, showcasing elegant calligraphic styles. The inscriptions typically included the name and titles of the Sultan, the date of minting according to the Islamic Hijri calendar, and religious verses from the Quran, such as the Kalima. This was a clear and powerful way for the new rulers to assert their authority and their faith. The coin was no longer just a piece of metal for trade. It was a proclamation of the Sultan's sovereignty and his role as the leader of the faithful in the land. The Sultans also brought about significant reforms in the monetary system. Iltutmish, one of the early and most effective sultans, is credited with introducing a standardized currency. He introduced the silver tanka, which weighed around 11 grams, and the copper jital. This two-metal system became the foundation for the currency of North India for the next few centuries. His coins were well made and carried the name of the Caliph of Baghdad, acknowledging a nominal spiritual authority, which in turn gave his own rule greater legitimacy in the wider Islamic world. However, the period of the Delhi Sultanate was also known for some bold and sometimes disastrous monetary experiments. Muhammad bin Tughlaq is famous for his attempt to introduce token currency. He issued brass and copper coins that were meant to have the same value as the much more precious silver and gold coins. The idea was brilliant in theory, inspired by similar practices in China. However, the state failed to prevent mass counterfeiting. People started making fake coins in their own backyards, leading to a complete collapse of the economy. This famous episode shows how coinage is deeply tied to public trust and state control. Following the decline of the Delhi Sultanate, the stage was set for one of the most magnificent empires in Indian history, the Mughal Empire. The Mughals were patrons of art, architecture, and culture, and their passion for beauty and precision extended to their coinage. They refined the currency system and produced some of the most artistically pleasing coins ever seen in India. The founder of the empire, Babur, and his son, Humayun, initially continued with the existing coin types. However, the real transformation in Mughal currency began with the Afghan ruler Sher Shah Suri, who briefly interrupted Mughal rule. Sher Shah Suri was a brilliant administrator, and his reforms had a lasting impact. He introduced a new high-quality silver coin that he called the rupiah. This coin had a standard weight of about 11.5 grams. He also introduced a copper coin called the dam. This standardized silver rupiah was so well made and reliable that it became the backbone of the economy. When the Mughal Emperor Akbar came to power, he recognized the genius of this system and adopted it, further refining it across his vast empire. This rupiah, introduced by Sher Shah and perfected by Akbar, is the direct ancestor of the modern Indian rupee we use today. Under the great Mughal emperors like Akbar, Jahangir, and Shah Jahan, coin minting became a fine art. Akbar issued beautiful coins with decorative borders and elegant calligraphy. He also experimented with designs, issuing a series of coins that depicted figures, which was a brief departure from the strict Islamic tradition. His famous Ilahi coins, which marked his new syncretic faith, Dini Ilahi, featured a falcon or a duck. However, his son Jahangir took artistic expression on coins to a whole new level. He issued a famous series of zodiac coins, with each of the 12 signs beautifully depicted. He also issued coins that featured his own portrait, holding a goblet of wine. Shah Jahan, the great builder of the Taj Mahal, brought a sense of order and symmetry to the coinage. His coins are known for their beautiful and clear calligraphy, often arranged in neat squares or circles. The inscriptions became more standardized, usually containing the king's name and titles on one side and the kalima on the other. Aurangzeb, a more orthodox ruler, removed the kalima from the coins, arguing that the holy words could be defiled when the coins were handled by non-believers. The Mughal era thus gave India its standardized rupiah and a legacy of coins that were symbols of imperial power and exceptional artistry. As the Mughal Empire weakened in the 18th century, various regional powers and European trading companies began to assert their influence. The British East India Company, which started as a trading entity, slowly transformed into a political power. In the beginning, they issued coins that copied the Mughal style. They would mint coins in the name of the reigning Mughal emperor, like Shah Alam II, to ensure that their currency was accepted by the local population. These coins looked very similar to the Mughal ones, but sometimes had a small, subtle mark to indicate that they were minted by the company. The year 1857 was a major turning point. After the First War of Independence, the rule of India was transferred from the East India Company directly to the British Crown. Queen Victoria was declared the Empress of India. This political change was immediately reflected on the coins. The name of the Mughal emperor was removed forever. In its place, the picture of the British monarch appeared. The coins of India now featured the image of Queen Victoria, and later, King Edward VII, King George V, and King George VI. This was a powerful symbol of the new colonial reality. The British also brought about a technological revolution in minting. The old hand-struck method was replaced by modern machinery. This meant that coins could be produced in much larger quantities, and each coin was perfectly identical, with milled edges to prevent people from shaving off small pieces of the precious metal. The new coins had the monarch's portrait on one side, the front, and the denomination, country name India, and the year of minting on the other side, the back. The currency system was also standardized across the entire country, further unifying the Indian economy under British control. The denominations also became fixed. The silver rupee remained the main coin, but it was now divided into 16 annas. Each anna was further divided into 4 pice, and each pice into 3 pies. This system of 1 rupee equals 16 annas equals 64. Pice equals 192 pies was the standard for nearly a century. People from that generation will still remember counting in annas and pice. These coins, bearing the face of a foreign ruler, were a constant reminder of India's colonial status. They were a part of every Indian's daily life, from the bustling cities to the remote villages, right up to the moment of independence. On August 15, 1947, India awoke to a new dawn of freedom. With independence came the desire to forge a new national identity, and currency was a very important part of this. One of the first things the new government did was to change the face of the coins. The portrait of the British king was no longer acceptable. It needed to be replaced with a symbol that represented the new sovereign India. The chosen symbol was the magnificent lion capital of Ashoka from Sarnath. This powerful emblem, representing courage, confidence and truth, became the new face of India's coins and its national emblem. Initially, from 1947 to 1950, India continued to use the old British-era coins to ensure a smooth transition. The first coins of the Republic of India were issued in 1950. While the design changed to the Ashoka lion capital, the old currency system was retained for a few more years. The rupee was still divided into 16 annas. The reverse of the coins featured new designs, like a majestic bull on the 1 rupee coin, a horse on the half rupee, and a stalk of grain, symbolizing the country's agricultural backbone. These coins were a proud declaration of India's newfound sovereignty. A major and historic change came in 1957. India decided to modernize its currency system and switch to a decimal system. This was a huge step that simplified calculations for everyone. The old system of annas and pice was retired. From that point on, the Indian rupee was divided into 100 equal parts. These new units were initially called Nai Pies, which means new pays, to distinguish them from the old pice. For a few years, both old and new coins were in circulation. Then, in 1964, the word Naya was dropped, and the new unit simply became the paisa. The era of 1 rupee equals 100 paise had begun. Over the decades, Indian coins have continued to evolve. The metals used have changed from silver and nickel to more affordable materials like stainless steel and aluminum, reflecting economic realities. The designs have also been updated to commemorate important national events, celebrate great leaders, and promote social messages. We have seen coins celebrating Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, the Asian Games, and concepts like unity and diversity. Today's coins, with their familiar lion capital and diverse themes, are a part of our daily lives, a constant and tangible link to the journey of a modern, independent, and dynamic nation. Now that we have traveled through this long and fascinating history, let's look at some interesting facts that make the story of Indian coins even more special. Lock it in? First, let's talk about the word we use every day, rupee. Where does it come from? The word has its roots in the ancient Sanskrit language. It comes from the word rupya, which means wrought silver, or rupa, which means shape or form. This name was famously revived by Sher Shah Suri for his silver coin, the rupia, and it has stuck with us ever since. It is a word that connects our modern currency directly to its ancient past. Here is another fact that should make every Indian proud. India was one of the very first countries in the world to start using coins. Along with ancient China and Lydia in modern-day Turkey, ancient India was a pioneer in the concept of coinage, starting around the 6th century BCE. While the Lydians were making coins from a mix of gold and silver called electrum, and the Chinese were creating spade-shaped money, India was developing its unique system of punch-marked coins. This means that India has one of the oldest and most continuous coin histories in the world, spanning over 2,600 years. Have you ever wondered which was the first Indian coin to carry a date? The credit for this goes to the rulers of the Western satraps, who ruled in the western and central parts of India. Around the 2nd century CE, they started issuing silver coins that were dated according to the Saka era, which begins in 78 CE. The dates were written in Brahmi numerals on the coins. This was a remarkable innovation for its time, providing historians with precise information about the reign of different kings. It was a small step that brought a great deal of clarity to the historical timeline of ancient India. From the first punch on a piece of silver to the modern stainless steel coins in our wallets, the journey of Indian coinage is a reflection of India's own journey. Each coin is a miniature document, a piece of history that tells a story of empires rising and falling, of art and religion, of trade and technology, and of the country's struggle for freedom and its march towards progress. The next time you hold a coin in your hand, take a moment to look at it. You are not just holding a piece of metal, you are holding a piece of history, a story that is truly priceless. Thank you.